Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final day of the 2021 preseason test for the 2021 GP4 Offline Championship. We're once again back here at the Bahrain International Circuit, just like yesterday, and I am JW97 once again, but I'm joined by a different commentator, unlike yesterday. I'm joined today by Dennis Graff, aka the Ferrari test driver. How are you doing?
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm doing fine. How about you, Joe?
Fine indeed, and I talked about test drives because, of course, today the test drivers are in action. You are, of course, one of them, Dennis, and we'll get on to that in just a little bit in terms of who are the test drivers out there on track and who they are replacing today. But we are here for day 4, and after yesterday, where George Roke topped the session, of course, we've so far had 3 different drivers and 3 different teams topping the pre-season test so far. Could you potentially look at a 4th here, Dennis, or do you think that that streak will end today?
Interesting question. Of course, we have many teams who could be at the front. Yeah, we need to see how the session goes. But I
Indeed.
think we could see a team for a second time on top. That's my prediction. And
Okay,
I can
indeed.
hear myself in the background.
I can also hear myself in the background as well, so I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, hello to Alexi, who's just joined us in the stream chat, and hello Daniel as well. And we've got a dry session, no real surprise here in Bahrain, so I think without further ado, let's get to the final day of preseason testing. As we are here now at, well, you can see from the loading screen at Bahrain. Now, to go through the test drivers, who are they, of course? So, Mercedes, we have Rifki Fakrazin again in that car, and he'll be replacing Amar Kar for today. Red Bull, they have Daniel Adventure as their test driver, and he's replacing George Rook for today. Over at Aston Martin, we have Aaron Curtis, who just missed out on the top class seat. He will be replacing Roland Motrin for today. Renault, meanwhile, they will be having Hento Sinonome in the car, and he's today replacing Jesus Perinen. At McLaren, we have Hoang Min Nguyen, and he's replacing Joseph Willows for today. AlphaTauri, you just saw him briefly. We have Ruslan Protsiuk in the AlphaTauri, replacing today Miklos Gau. Ferrari have Dennis Graff in the car, who is also on commentary, and he's replacing Chris Chatfield for today. Over at Alfa Romeo, we have Gabriel Gomez, the former top-class driver for Alfa Romeo. He will be driving the car, replacing Roman Quark. So today, the Alfa Romeo team will be having their 2019 and 2020 lineup, just for one day, of course. So Gabriel Gomez replacing Roman Quark for today. Over at Williams, Adam Chobot will be in the car, replacing Felix Sontag. At Haas, we have Bartosz Kloss replacing Amelia Wilson. And then over at the new Lamborghini team, we have Derebosh Daniel, who will be replacing Laura Chung in the car. We just saw there that Dennis Graff is the first to go out on track, and I think the big question that everybody will be wondering about this, Dennis, will you be doing something similar to what we saw when you were at Williams, booking as many testing sessions as possible?
Of course, I will do what you expect.
Because you and Ra,
And
let's
also,
not forget, when you two were test drivers back in 2019, you two were doing quite a lot of mileage, it's fair to say.
yeah, and I'm planning to do the same again. And also, yes, Miriam, that's not the first time you've seen this. If you know, you know.
It's day 4, Alexi, not day 3. It says it in the title. So, yeah, we are here for the final day of preseason testing. We've got the test drivers in action. One of them, of course, being Daniel Adventure, who is driving the Red Bull for today, specifically George Roke's Red Bull, as you can see with the Acura logo on the rear wing. So we've got Jamie Griffiths out there on the racetrack as well. For some of these guys, it will be the first time that they'll be driving a top-class car. Some of those including, let's think who they are. Hoang Min Nguyen, I think this will be Nguyen's first time in a top-class car. You can try and correct me on that one if I've got that one wrong.
Nguyen's not.
Okay,
remember 2018 Mercedes?
Of course. Okay, of course, yes, he did. He tested for Mercedes, but he's testing for McLaren this time by his dream team, in fact. We also have Adam Chobot. It's the first time he's going to be driving a top-class car for the day. And, of course, Derebosh Daniel. He'll be his first time driving a top-class car, so it'll be very interesting to see how those two do. We've got Dennis Graff, who's first out on track, once again, with the Jean Alesi helmet, as he likes to use. And he'll be the one setting the benchmark time for everybody to beat. So, looking at the tests overall, Dennis, from the Ferrari perspective, do you think it's gone particularly well so far for the team?
Yeah, especially in Barcelona, it was well for them. Of course, in the first day when Galloway was at the top. But yeah, but also here, yesterday we see Galloway, I think it was GP4, if I'm not mistaken.
Was?
So, yeah. But
Chris
that yesterday wasn't that great. So yeah, it's a bit mixed, let's say that.
Yeah, indeed, Chatfield seemed to struggle quite a bit yesterday for whatever reason, and for some reason just couldn't seem to get the car working the way he wanted it to. But we got Dennis Graff in the car for the day. At least Chris Chatfield will get the day off to probably reflect and see if there was anything he could have done better yesterday. But Graff just coming around the second to last corner. Well, then again, I say that, but the corner we're coming up to is actually classed as two corners. A little kink after it is classed as a corner for some reason, but I think a lot of us prefer not to class it as a corner, really. But anyway, as Dennis Graff now then just comes out of the final turn, let's see what the benchmarker time is going to be, as he's got Franco Gamba right behind him at the moment. Graff is going to cross the line, and it's a 1:29.606, but it's beaten by Gamba, who goes 2 tenths quicker. De Rosa slots into second place. Synonym goes to fourth in the Renault. So we now look at Ruslan Protsiuk, and it's fair to say yesterday, although the AlphaTauri still appears to be struggling, Dennis, they seem to do better in power tracks as Lopez goes to the top.
Of course, if you remember Barcelona, they were dreadfully slow. Fine, at least they were a bit better here with P15 from Carl yesterday. So yeah, on these power tracks, there could be a bit of an improvement for them. But
indeed,
it's just preseason testing, so we need to see how it goes.
Indeed so, and this will be Protsiuk's first time in this car as well, and he'll be hoping that it's not as bad as what Chobot and Gallup had to contend with. But Fakreze, meanwhile, goes to 10th in the other Mercedes, whilst his teammate Franco Lopez...
What did you say, Chobot?
No, I said Fakreze.
Q-Poc.
No, I said Fakreze, I didn't say Q-Poc. What was I talking about? No, Protsiuk's replacing Gal today. As now we go around these section of corners, but Q-Park, yeah, you just touched on that. He's gone to 11th so far. So we kind of saw this early on yesterday with the AlphaTauri, because we saw, I think it was it Gal? In fact, it actually crept it into the top 10, and then as the time started to get quicker, they started to slip down a little bit. And who knows, we might see a similar thing here as well, because we saw yesterday as well the drivers are just constantly improving, unlike what we saw at Barcelona. Now, whether that was down to the tyre wear, we're not 100% sure, but we're seeing that Graff is on improvement.
Gamba pits already again.
As Graff goes up to 9th, so an improvement there for Dennis Graff, as De Rosa improves but remains in 3rd position. P14 now for Hento Synonome. Galloway, where's Galloway at the moment? He's currently in... where is Galloway? I'm trying to find where Galloway is. Oh, he's Gal, isn't he, for today? Because, of course, Nicolas Gal is not in the car, so he's actually GAL for today. He's 13th at the moment behind David Kupok, as Bartosz Kloss goes into 4th meanwhile. And that's in the Haas, of course. So the Haas showing some potential at the moment as Bartosz Kloss slots into 4th. Meanwhile, of course, the ex-Ferrari test driver have now gone back to the team that got him his first drive in the top class, Haas, and being the test driver there. Byrne went to 6th. Adventure goes to 8th, meanwhile, in the Red Bull. Adam Chobot 18th, Fakreze only 16th at the moment for the Mercedes test driver, as the top 20 in fact currently separated by 8 tenths of a second. Anderson goes to 5th meanwhile in the Aston Martin, and a lot of people were wondering if we were going to get confused between the Lambo and the Aston, but well, you can see right there 2 different shades of green. I don't think it's going to be too difficult to mix them up, so that's that really, as meanwhile Griffiths went into 16th position, and Graff is still on improvement, but only 12 thousandths up on his personal best in the middle sector. Now, we might as well talk about Formula E and IndyCar, of course, because obviously, whilst it's the last day of top-class preseason testing, it's not the last day of testing as a whole for the OC, of course. I mean, we've got F2 and DTM testing that's coming in the future, but also this weekend, we've got the Formula E and IndyCar World Champ Car tests, and as Graff, meanwhile, goes up into 9th position. And as De Rosa now goes to the top of the time, 129.108. So De Rosa in the McLaren now slots to the top of the timing sheets. And Yuri actually pointed out, in fact, that for a while, as Lopez improves but remains in second, 5 thousandths of De Rosa, he pointed out, in fact, that he forgot to change De Rosa's nationality on the graphic. He now has. He's now got the Italian nationality rather than the Polish one, as Kloss goes up to 3rd, meanwhile, in the Haas. But as I was saying, the test for this weekend for both Formula E and World Champ Car. Of course, Formula E will be on Saturday and World Champ Car on the Sunday, and Yuri has confirmed to us at the time they'll be on, because of course, let's not forget, we do have the Monaco Grand Prix for the real-life Formula 1 race as well that we've got to bear in mind. So the pre-season tests for both Formula E and World Champ Car this weekend will both be on at 1 PM BST for both Saturday and Sunday. So just be aware of that, and they're both going to be half an hour sessions. Now, they are 30-minute sessions, these ones, so 15 minutes shorter than what the top class is. And Yuri has said that he may increase it in the future if it is too short, but for the meantime, they will be 30 minutes for this season. So just be aware of that one, and don't be too surprised when we get there this weekend. So some exciting stuff to look forward to there, and it will be interesting to see how Formula E copes, especially in their new era, because they're no longer in equal series, and how the new World Champ Car Series copes as well, and how the cars will look like on Sunday, as Jake Galloway, meanwhile, has just come out onto the racetrack, as his teammate Dennis Graff was up on his personal best. Is he going to improve a little bit further? He does go up into 7th position, exactly 3/10 behind Kira Shima DeRosa, as Sinano, meanwhile, gets up into 10th. So we are seeing something that we saw yesterday, Dennis, where drivers just keep on improving.
Yep, of course, we have the hard tires, so they are able to get more temperature into the tires with more laps. So you see Curtis going to his class improved even further, as I said. Yeah.
And as we were speaking there, Lopez has actually gone back to the top by 17 thousandths of a second at 1:29.091. So Lopez back to the top. So we ride on board with Aaron Curtis. A lot of people saying that he was unlucky to miss out on a top class seat, Dennis.
Indeed, he was. Yeah. I think if you win the GP2 title or now F2, you have very good cards for a top class seat, but as you've seen this time and also in 2018 with David Suarez, it doesn't need to happen every time, which is a shame in this case, of course.
Indeed so, and meanwhile, Flo has just confirmed in the stream chat that the DTM preseason test will take place on the 10th and 11th of June. Now, if I get my calendar up, that will be in 2 weeks' time. So it will be during the week of after the Top Class Chinese Grand Prix. So 2 weeks' time, the DTM preseason tests are. So we've got all the dates for preseason testing right there for you. So I'll make sure to put that up on Twitter. And just for clarity, because Flo also asked this question, where are the venues for both Formula E and World Champ Car? Formula E, they are at the same track that the top class are at now, the Grand Prix layout of the Bahrain International Circuit. Not the same layout that they're going to be using during the season, of course, because they're going to be using the outer layout for the season, but for preseason testing it will be the Grand Prix layout. And for World Champ Car, it will be at the Grand Prix layout of Indianapolis. So two exciting venues to look forward to for both Formula E and World Champ Car, as Lopez improves to break into the 1:28. So whilst we were speaking there, and whilst we run on board with Evan Byrne, his teammate for today, Hento Sinanome, got up into 7th place. Adventure, meanwhile, is on improvement, currently lying in 12th position. Let's see what he can do. Of course, George Rote topped the session yesterday, so let's see what Daniel Adventure can do in the same car as the Polish driver crosses the line and goes up into 8th position. Pushes Graff outside the top 10. It's Garma. It's the top of the timing sheets. Franco Garma, 1:28.825. Wonder if he got a tad bit of slipstream there from his teammate Daniel Adventure for today. But Garma now to the top, and it's a Franco 1-2 at the moment. As Anderson gets us to 4th, as we've got a bit of a cluster going on there at the first corner there, as Gomez was going out of the pits there. But yeah, Franco Garma again showing that the Red Bull is looking pretty strong at the moment, Dennis.
Yep, of course. In Barcelona, they were also at the front yesterday with Rogue fastest. So for them, it's looking quite good. As Patel goes 3rd.
Rahul Patel, who has been a little bit of a superstar so far in preseason testing, currently 3rd. As Jake Galloway, meanwhile, gets up into 6th position, and it is Galloway the prefix, not Miklos Gal, because of course Miklos Gal is not taking part in this session. Ruslan Protsiuk is. It seems that the prefix automatically gave Galloway the GAL prefix rather than a GAO prefix. As Graff goes up to 9th, DeRosa gets back up to 3rd, meanwhile, gets back in front of Patel. Sinanome up into 6th position, gets in front of Jake Galloway there, as Adventure is improving, but it's not going to matter because he's coming into the pits this lap. So nothing to talk about there. As Kloss goes into 8th position, meanwhile, in the Haas, a P8 for the Polish driver. And let's not forget, of course, he was a contender for Haas. Let's not forget for this season, but in the end they decided to retain Daniel Fraser. Here is Ricky Fakrazane, who's currently down in 18th at the moment in the Mercedes, and he's coming into the pits this lap. I don't know if he's just doing long runs as the test driver or not, but so far down in 18th, as Chobot goes 20th, meanwhile, just in front of Derebush Daniel. Of course, both Chobot and Daniel, as mentioned earlier, first time they'll be driving top-class machinery, so for them it's a new experience. And speaking of Derebush Daniel, we're running on board with him now, as he's currently being held up by one of the Aston Martins. They're nearly getting a little bit too close for comfort.
I think that's Curtis.
I think it is Aaron Curtis, yes. As Daniel was coming into the pits, he's getting a little bit fed up of being held up, it seems, and will probably want a clear run during this session. It looks like his teammate is also coming to the pits as well. Ray Horvatel, we just seen in front. Curtis improves but remains in 22nd. I wonder how much of that had to do with Dore Bush Daniel getting in the way there. As Galloway gets back up into 6th position. We now look at Ruslan Protsiuk meanwhile. And again, another guy who just missed out on a top class seat, Dennis.
Yeah. Wait, who was it again? I didn't listen for a second. Sorry.
Ruslan Protsiuk I was talking about.
Oh yeah, it's true. I'm a bit lost at the moment, so yeah, for him it was also close. He was at the front in the GP2 season last season. Yeah, what was he competing for? Alfa Romeo? Alfa
It was the Alfa
Tauri?
Romeo seat. It was Alfa Romeo.
Okay, yeah, of course. The team had a huge amount of competition, so yeah, that was very
it was
difficult
stacked.
to get there in the first place.
It was very, very stacked indeed. Garber, meanwhile, improves a bit further. He goes to a 1 minute 28.668. As we were speaking there, Kloss actually got up into 5th position in the Haas there, as we ride on board with Franco Lopez, who's just come out of the pits. And so far currently in 2nd place. And it's fair to say that, of course, the Mercedes on day 1 were a little bit asleep, Dennis. But it seems like in these remaining 3 days, they've seemed to have woken up.
I think on day 1 they just did a bit of race pace simulations. So yeah, if you're bad on one day but good on the others, then you can take the good days for reference. So nothing to worry about for those guys.
Indeed so, as we ride on board with Julius Anderson, who's currently in 6th position, and Aston Martin have been a little bit of a rocky subject, to be honest, and now make that 7th because Galloway's gone up into 6th. But it seems that they're a little bit off the pace at the moment, Dennis. And to be honest, I've said this quite a lot. I was a little bit surprised that they've dropped a little bit of pace because I was expecting them, given how well they did in 2020, to actually build up on that. But it just seems like they're struggling. As we've got a yellow flag. It's at the pit straight, I think. Who is that? And it is... we can't... Is it in the pit lane? Maybe in the pit lane, perhaps. As we can't see who... Oh, no, it's there, look. It's a Renault.
Oh, there's the Renault.
Which Renault is that's pulled off to the side of the track? Because they had an issue yesterday, let's not forget, with Hayes' Byrne, and it looks like it's Evan Byrne that's had the issue. And it is. And he was on an improvement, was Byrne. And I couldn't quite see what the mechanical issue was there because it went off there. It's a gearbox issue.
Transmission failure.
A gearbox issue for Evan Byrne, and he's going to have to get into the spare car. Again, the whole thing about disabling spare cars, it's still a work in progress at the moment, and it might be a while before we see that. So just thought I would remind people of that if you didn't hear what I said yesterday. As Franco Lopez now then just goes around turn 2 and 3, the yellow flags have now cleared, as they have now cleared, of course, Evan Byrne's car, and he was on an improvement, as I said earlier, so who knows what sort of pace he was running. Garber again with another improvement, this time a 1 minute 28.574. And Red Bull showing like they've got some good top-end speed with that Honda engine. I mean, it seems to be working pretty okay for AlphaTauri, given that Kupok is up in 11th and Protsiuk in 17th. And speaking of which, he didn't improve on that lap, as it looks like one of the Williams has gone out on track. Kupok improves a little bit further, but remains in 11th. That being Adam Chobot, who's just come out onto the racetrack. And he'll be looking to have a very good first time in a top-class car, of course. And he was a bit of a surprise last season, Dennis, in GP2 last season, because he was, for most of the season, a championship contender.
Of course, coming from BTCC, it wasn't clear where he was in the field, but in the beginning we saw that he was very good. Yeah, also was, I think, in contention for a top-class seat for a bit.
He was. It was a tiny bit. It was in contention for both Williams and AlphaTauri, but in the end, both of them had stronger competition in the end. So that's why he's not in the top class for this season. As Dennis Graff comes back out onto the racetrack. So I just want to point out as well because I don't know if it's been adjusted since or not, but on the Aston the other day, my brother even pointed out that there was a bit of a sponsorship clash between two brands, Peroni and Martini, and as you know, both of them are wine brands. So I don't know if no, he hasn't gone and altered that just yet. So I think it's still a work in progress. So I think because I mentioned it to Evan and he said noted, so I wonder if he is working on it, but. We should hopefully get one of those logos removed at some point because it is a bit of a clash. So that's that really. Meanwhile, as we're speaking, Videri has actually got up into 5th position as Gamba was also able to improve a little bit as well. He's now on the 1 minute 28.526. And as meanwhile, Patel has got up into 2nd place now. 3 taps adrift of Franco Gamba as Daniel Adventure makes it a 1-3 for Red Bull to get up into 3rd. Fakrazane makes a massive improvement to get up into 6th position in the Mercedes as Prix makes his way through the S's. Daniel, meanwhile, gets up into 18th in the Lamborghini. Here is Jamie Griffiths, who's just come out onto the racetrack. As start really, as Griffiths now then so far in 18th, and it's fair to say yesterday, Dennis, he had probably a very weird accident, it's fair to say, with Franco Gamba yesterday, so much so that had we had found a way to get the spare cars working, it would have been classed as an injury, but luckily for Jamie, the injury system doesn't come into an effect for both qualifying and practice at this current time because of the fact that we haven't got the spare cars working. But yeah, it just seemed like he went from 100 to 0 in like 0.5 seconds, Dennis.
Yeah, that looked a bit scary to be honest, but it seems like he's lucky to continue testing duties because of the spare car system not working at the moment. But it was a very weird crash.
Indeed so. Meanwhile, Hento Synonyms just gone out on the track. Of course, was the McLaren test driver last season, but has now switched over to Renault. Hence why Hoang Min Nguyen is the test driver for today for McLaren. Nguyen currently in 14th and Synonym in 11th. As meantime, Galloway being held up by, I believe that's Dore Bosch Daniel. He's currently being held up behind, but it's not going to matter too much because he's coming into the pits. His lap as Patel has improved a little bit more, but Adventure now makes it a Red Bull 1-2 as Adventure now goes up into 2nd place. Fakrazin improves a bit more, but remains in 6th position, so 4th and 6th at the moment for the two Mercedes drivers. Potsu making his way through the S's now then. He will now make his way down towards the hairpin, and Proxy so far currently down in 20th position. Q-Puck up in 13th as we speak at this point in time. Curtis currently down in last position at the moment in the Aston Martin, as Graff meanwhile improves but remains in P number 11. The top 16 separated by just
Wait, he
under...
was in 12th.
He's got up into 11th as the top 16 separated by just under a second at the moment. As again, looking very close in terms of the field spread this season. Could be very encouraging signs for him to get to Australia next week, of course. And meanwhile, Curtis has improved now to get up into 16th, so it's now the top 17 that are now under a second. As we look at Nguyen, who's up on his personal best. I think there was somebody else who was up on their personal best before we reviewed Nguyen there, but I'm not 100% sure. It's Franco Gamba now then makes his way out onto the racetrack. Keep an eye on the left-hand side to see if Nguyen is able to improve in the McLaren, and also whoever else was also on the lap in front that also had a green def panel. Nguyen does improve. He goes up into 13th position. I believe the guy who was in front of him wasn't able to improve and was able to and ended up losing time as Patel and Adventure keep switching places for second place as both of them once again improve on their laps. Patel went up to second, but then Adventure once again decided to go back up to second place himself there then. Both of them find themselves within 2 tenths of Franco Gama at the moment as we ride on board with Patel's teammate, for today at least, Dore Bosch Daniel, as now turns 2 and 3 he goes now then. And of course Dore Bosch Daniel, as you know, he will be taking part in Formula 2 this season, as in fact as we're looking at a replay, it looked like he made a little bit of a lock-up going through into the first corner there. Yeah, you can just about see there was a little bit of a blue puff of smoke coming from the tyres there. But Dore Bosch, as mentioned, competing in Formula 2 this season with the new Van Amersfoort Racing. And how do you think he'll get on, Dennis, in your opinion?
I think he will get on pretty well. Remember, he was 3rd in Formula E last season. So yeah, I guess it could be also another good season for him, but Preseason didn't even start, so it's hard to make a prediction for that. The sports will improve. in the personal best in the middle sector.
It's not going to matter because he's coming into the pits. His lap. Curtis, meanwhile, got up into 15th position. The two Irish drivers currently 15th and 16th at the moment. And so far, Byrne, of course, let's not forget, obviously broke down today, had a transmission problem, and was on an improvement before his car decided to give up on him. He's now out in the spare car. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to find a little bit more improvement. Here's Hoang Min Nguyen, meanwhile, in the McLaren. And he finds some time in the last sector, but remains in 13th position, but improves on his best time when he's coming into pits. Like Patel, once again splitting the two Red Bulls. Will Adventure take it back? Yes, he will indeed. By under 2 tenths now, he's behind Franco Gamba. So once again, Adventure Patel trading places as Fakhrizadeh gets up into 5th position, as the two Mercedes are now 4th and 5th at this point in time. As Nguyen makes his way through into turn 4 and getting as much experience as he can in that McLaren. Here's for Derry. So far, having a pretty good session at the moment, Dennis.
Yeah, to be 7th in the Alfa Romeo is quite impressive. Although we have seen a lot of guys who did improve, as Graff improves to go to P7. Speaking of improvements. Yeah.
And that has actually pushed for Derry down into 8th as a result. Hello, Jake, who's just joined us in the stream chat. You're currently in 10th position at the moment. Your prefix is GAL for today because Mikko Skau is not taking part in this session, as today we have the test drivers in action. As so far, the two Ferraris currently 7th and 10th so far in the session. Graff in 7th and Galloway in 10th position as we speak. Here comes Nguyen now then, making his way through the second last corner. Of course, he's coming back into the pits this lap. And currently finding himself just under a 10th behind his 2020 GP2 teammate, Hento Sinanome. Both of them won't be teammates this season, of course, because Nguyen will be competing for Prema this season, and Sinanome will be staying, I believe, at Carlin for this season. I could be wrong on that, but I do believe he is staying at Carlin for this season.
Wait, check.
So, as Nguyen is now back into the pits, and I think one of the Astons has also come into the pits as well, just in front. Yes, it was an Aston Martin, and I believe, if you just look, that was Anderson who just came in. As Adventure improves a little bit further to now find himself just under a 10th behind behind Franco Gamba. As Fakhrizadeh improves to find himself just about 17 thousandths behind two-time world champion and defending champion Franco Lopez at the moment. But the Red Bulls looking pretty good at the moment with a 1-2 at this stage, and I'm pretty sure if George Rote watches this later on, he'll be having a smile on his face in the pace of what the Red Bulls can achieve, especially on a high-speed circuit. And who knows, really? Could Red Bull be the early favourites this season for the championship? Who knows? Or could somebody else try and stop them? That could be quite interesting indeed, as Ruslan Protsiuk in the AlphaTauri comes out onto the racetrack, finding himself exactly 2 tenths ahead of the Williams of Adam Chobot. He will now make his way towards turn 4 on the racetrack now then. As meantime, Aaron Curtis improves but remains in 15th position, finding himself exactly 5 thousandths of a second behind David Kupak. Speaking of AlphaTauri, as we were riding on board with Ruslan Proksiuk. As so far, there are 7 cars in the pit lane at the moment. Patel, Lopez, De Rosa, Graff, Anderson, Nguyen and Fraser at the moment. So at the moment, this is what the leaderboard looks like then, with just over 21 minutes to go then. Franco Gamba at the top with Daniel Adventure in 2nd, Rahul Patel in 3rd with Franco Lopez 4th, Ricky Fakhrizadeh is in 5th with Kirishima De Rosa 6th, Dennis Graff in 7th, Andre Videri is in 8th with Bartosz Klos in 9th, Jake Galloway in 10th with Julius Anderson 11th, Hento Sinanome in 12th with Hoang Min Nguyen in 13th, David Kupak 14th with Aaron Curtis 15th, Evan Byrne in 16th, Gabriel Gomez 17th with Daniel Fraser in 18th, and then we have Jamie Griffiths 19th, Daribush Daniel in 20th, Ruslan Protsiuk 21st, and Alan Chobot in 22nd. And as I was speaking there, Fakhrizadeh gets above Lopez, so Ricky Fakhrizadeh gets up into 4th position now then. So that's how the leaderboards currently look at this stage at the moment. But right now, Red Bull looking pretty strong at the moment, Dennis.
Yep. Of course. Okay.
I think there was a bit of a delay on your end there, Dennis, because that was
a bit of lag early on, a minute before.
Okay. Well, I was saying how strong the Red Bulls are. Sinanome gets
I heard that.
10th place.
I was about to say.
I think you were about to say something after I said the Red Bull's looking pretty strong, Dennis.
Yeah.
But
Of course,
you seem...
with 1-2, they're looking very well indeed. Also, over 2 tenths out of the next car, which is Patel. Yeah, so far, Red Bull are the early favorites. You cannot say anything against it.
The moment, yes, and one other team that we should talk about as well, mainly Rahul Patel, once again, showing some good pace in that Lamborghini.
Yeah, I didn't expect that when we started testing on Monday as Jobot improves.
Does indeed, and now finds himself about
38,000.
38,000 behind Ruslan Protsuk at the moment. Lopez came out on the track just in front of Franco Gama there, his fellow Franco, and so Lopez will be hoping, Gama will be hoping he doesn't get held up by the Mercedes in front as Lopez is preparing to start his next flying lap now then, as he will make his way through the long swooping right-hander. Just under 19 minutes to go now then in this session. And only 3 cars now in the pit lane. Adventure, Graff and Gomez. As Sinano, meanwhile, gets up into P6 right now in the Renault. As his teammate Byrne has not been able to find improvement so far in the spare car. Because, of course, if you just joined us, he actually broke down a little bit earlier on in the session with a gearbox problem. His fellow compatriot, though, Aaron Curtis, was able to just improve there, but remains in 15th, as now Daniel Adventure has just come out of the pit lane. As he now will make his way towards turn number 4 on the racetrack. As so far, Adventure looking pretty comfortable in that car at the moment, and showing the pace that what George Rote was able to achieve yesterday with that car. And so far, the Red Bull looking very, very good, and has been so far probably one of the most consistent teams in this across the 4 days of preseason testing. The Nguyen, meanwhile, as I was speaking, gets up into 11th position, so 7th and 11th at the moment for the 2 McLaren drivers, and finds himself exactly 4 thousandths in front of Jake Galloway at this point in time. As hello, Ra, who's just joined us. You're currently in 3rd position at the moment in this session. You're pretty much doing what you did on day 1, but so far
The gift man.
Yeah, the gift man. As now Adventure makes his way out of the support pit straight as he will be preparing to start his second flying lap quite soon then. As now Adventure makes his way into the second to last corner. So for anybody who didn't see the news about DTM preseason testing, it will take place in 2 weeks' time on the 10th and 11th of June. So do be on the lookout for that one, and hopefully we get another exciting season in DTM. As now we look at Dennis Graff, who's just come out to the racetrack, as he will be preparing to start his next flying lap very, very soon, as he now makes his way towards the section of corners, as preparing himself to start another lap. Kloss, meanwhile, currently in 10th. Fair to say the Hasses have looked pretty decent so far today, Dennis.
Yeah, especially for Klaus. Fraser in the P18 is also not bad. He's only 1.1 seconds behind. But so far, it's quite a good day for Haas. This Nguyen goes 10th.
Mallory and World Champ car testing this weekend, Evan. So, as meantime, the Nguyen sets exactly the same time as Videri, in fact. Videri set the time first, of course, so he keeps 9th position, but Nguyen breaking into the top 10, I think, for the first time today, I think. I might be wrong on that one. As Coloss will be preparing to start his lap quite soon. As now we look at Fakrazane, who's just come out to the track now then. Currently in 4th position, 4th and 5th at the moment for the 2 Mercedes drivers. As Fakrazane will make his way towards turn 4. As so Fakrazane obviously had a little bit of a difficulty trying to adjust to the car earlier on in the session, but it seems he's now got into the groove of things. 3rd year in a row that he's become the Mercedes test driver, and who knows, maybe he'll try and go for a 4th successive season. But he's doing another year in DTM, of course. As you may remember, he set himself a target of trying to win every series possible, really, in the OC. And he obviously came close to winning the DTM title last season. He was leading the championship going into that final race before the man who's driving for Alfa Romeo this season, Roman Quark, pipped him right at the end. And it kind of helped as well. That it didn't help Rivki as well that he was involved in a first lap crash. So he'll be looking for redemption if he can, and hopefully to try and finally grab that elusive DTM title before he tries to go who knows wherever else after that, or maybe he might stay at DTM, who knows really. Gabriel Gomez out on the racetrack. Of course, he obviously is not going to be in the top class this season. He's now the Alfa Romeo test driver again, but he will be competing in the brand new World Champ Car Series, and it will be interesting to see how he does next season. I do believe he's driving for Andretti Autosport in the World Champ Car Series as well, alongside fellow compatriot Igor Peter. And do you think we could see Gomez again in the future in the top class, Dennis, or do you think that's it for him, do you think?
That's a good question, depending on his this season in Champ Car. But overall, the next season. But I have a feeling we could see him again.
We will see, of course. I think he is trying to get back into the series, isn't he? But we will have to wait and see, of course, if it ends up going the way he wants it to. As now we look at Jamie Griffiths, who's just come out onto the racetrack in the Williams, and currently in 19th position. And so far, it has been a bit of a tricky few days for Williams, and it looks like if it's anything to go by, they're going to be fighting at the back again, Dennis.
Yeah, I still think that's the curse of the BWT guy. Yeah.
It is a bit of a meme, isn't it?
But seriously, it's a bit disappointing for Williams. Currently P19, P20. Hopefully they can improve when the season gets underway.
Indeed so. Meanwhile, as we're speaking then, the Guin has actually crept up into 8th position now then. So the McLarens are now together on the leaderboard, 7th and 8th. As Anderson has now made his way back out onto the racetrack. Was up in the top 10 for first half of the session, but it seems that it's gone back to reality for Aston Martin at the moment, judging from the last few days, because it seems that they are currently struggling at the moment. 13th and 14th for the two Aston Martin drivers for today. Aaron Curtis, of course, in the car today in place of Roland Motrin, of course, after Anderson beat him overall across the 3 days prior. Here is Jamie Griffiths. He's passing the area where he had that weird crash yesterday with Franco Gamba, making his way through turns 2 and 3. David Kupok out on the racetrack. He's roughly in around about a similar sort of position that Miklos Gau was in yesterday. And it seems, as mentioned, they seem to do better on the power tracks, but it seems that on downforce tracks, they really, really suffer. But even with the power tracks, they're still suffering quite a bit. They're not really where they want to be at the moment. Meanwhile, Dwayne Bush-Daniel improves, but remains in 21st position at the moment. Again, still trying to get used to a top class car is Danny, and you could say the same about Adam Chobot as well. As speaking of Lambos, Ray Orvitell has come out, possibly not in the place ideally he would want to be in because of all that traffic that's in front. I think one of the cars in that traffic happens to be his teammate for the day, Dwayne Bush-Daniel, as we were just talking about him just a little bit earlier on. As Nguyen improves a little bit further, but remains in 8th. So far, he's not caught up to the back of that traffic at the moment, Patel, so he could be okay, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Chobot, meanwhile, as we were just talking about him a little bit earlier on, gets up into 18th position, so an improvement there for the Slovakian Williams test driver. As Jamie Griffiths now then approaches the final corner on the track now then, through the final turn and onto the pit straight now, then we'll go Jamie Griffiths, as he will now come across the line himself. And I don't think he's going to be on for an improvement, is he? Andrea Videri just coming back out onto the racetrack in the dark red Alfa Romeo. And a lot of people saying this is the best livery on the grid, I do believe, along with the Haas as well. So, yeah, and a bit like with the Red Bull as well, and like with the Haas as well, they've also adopted something similar to what Red Bull and Haas have done. Although, to be fair, they do this in real life as well with the Giulia and Stelvio, I believe the two-car models are for Alfa Romeo. And of course with the Haas you've got Deutsche Post and DHL, and then of course on the Red Bull you've got Honda and Acura. So as meanwhile Evan Byrne back out on the racetrack, currently 16th at the moment. Could he be looking at an improvement this time by? He's got a bit of clear air in front of him, so he could find a little bit of improvement, and luckily for him he came out just in front of that big traffic that we were just talking about a little bit earlier on. So it looks like he's going to be going to get a clean lap in, but can he get anywhere near where his teammate is at the moment? Hento Sinonome, who is currently in 6th position. We will have to wait and see as Griffiths again down on his personal best in the first sector, as it's only Gamba and Nguyen who are currently in the pit lane. Make that free because Fakrazine has just joined them. As Griffiths now then comes around the second to last turn now then on the racetrack, as he will now make his way down this little back straight before heading towards the second to last corner. And I'm not expecting him to improve, but we'll see anyway. Griffiths currently in 20th position behind, in fact, his test driver teammate Adam Chobot, who's currently in 18th position. Griffiths now then coming across the line, and he does not improve, stays where he is for the moment, which is P number 20. Just over 10 minutes to go now then on this final day of the top class preseason test before we head off for the start of the new season at Melbourne, where we're expecting it, of course, to be the up-to-date version of Melbourne, now that there is a 2022 version of Melbourne available on Grand Prix 4. As you just see Lopez there, who's coming into the pits this lap, getting past Rahul Patel there. As Byrne just in front starts a lap, so keep an eye on him on the timing tower on the left-hand side to see if he can get anywhere near Sinonome, or whether he's just doing race runs for today. And no, you didn't, Ra. I've only just come across your question there. No, you didn't, Ra. You didn't break down at all for today. It's only been Evan Byrne that's just broke down. So, yeah, so far, the reliability has been talked about a little bit, but Lamborghini, so far, knock on wood, reliability looking good for them at the moment, Dennis.
Yeah, they have been doing the laps quite consistently, also quite fast, and with good reliability. So for them, it's looking very well, I have to say.
Indeed, yeah, and obviously combined with the decent pace they've been showing, both Patel and Chung, that is. Of course, Daniel's still, I think, trying to get to grips with a top-class car at the moment. I think it's fair to say that, you know, it's looking very promising for them, and they could be, well, we actually don't really know where they're going to be in the first race of the season, but it does look like, with the pace they've got, they could potentially challenge for the odd podium even there. Maybe, who knows, maybe even get a win in their first season. Is that a little bit far-fetched? I don't know. But we've seen so far, and I think me and Dennis even touched on this before the session began, that it seems that we've got a consistent top 12 crop of teams, basically. So what I mean by that is that it seems we're seeing the same sort of teams occupying the top 12 at the moment. They've been your Mercedeses, your Red Bulls, your Ferraris, your Renaults, your McLarens, and your Lamborghinis at the moment. And it just seems like, apart from the odd occasions where another team maybe creeps into that top 12, the others seem to battle it out for that 13th position at the moment. And maybe you've got the likes of Williams, AlphaTauri, and maybe even at times Haas fighting towards the back of the field. Who knows, really? But it seems that those crop of teams are going to be fighting for like 13th and that, and maybe hoping for a lucky point here and there. As meantime, Proxy, speaking of AlphaTauri, goes up into 20th position, gets above Jamie Griffiths at the moment. So far 15th, 20th for the two AlphaTauri drivers. As Griffiths now then coming back into the pits this lap, as you can see from the def panel on the top of your screen there, with just over 7 minutes to go. Will we see him come back out onto the track? We will have to wait and see, of course. But we are getting towards the end of pre-season testing right now then. So we now look at Griffiths who's making his way down towards the final corner. Is now Franco Gamba has made his way back out to the racetrack, currently occupying a 1:28.526 at the moment. So far, finding himself just under a 10th clear of his test driver teammate Daniel Adventure. And I'm just going to do some double checking whilst I'm at it at the moment. So he makes his way through into the S's. Because I'm just trying to check the lap time that George Roke set yesterday. In fact, George Roke yesterday set a 1:28.475. So, in actual fact, Gamba has not set the quickest time overall across the 2 days. His teammate George Roke has been able to do that by just under a 10th between himself and Gamba at the moment. But so far, looking pretty good. And of course, I will once again be doing the overall classification graphic, and yes, I will be including the test drivers on that, so you can expect 33 drivers on 3 different graphics there. So be aware of that. But if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on this, so somebody can correct me. In fact, I can just double check this. But I think if we look across the 3 days at the moment, we're looking at a Red Bull 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Given that Adventure currently finds itself under a 10th behind Garma at the moment. Just checking the gap between Roque and Lopez, and yeah, I think at the moment it will be a 1, 2, 3 at the moment across the 2 days for the Red Bull guys. So yeah, as we pointed out earlier, showing how strong their car is at the moment, Dennis.
Seriously, they are the early favorites. And yeah, let's see if they can transform that pace into Melbourne, which we could see the new version, but that is the subject of testing, which we will see on Saturday, most likely, in the test race.
Of course, you've got to remember as well that in Australia, you've got to remember as well that over in Australia that oh God, what was I going to say? In Australia as well, it's a completely different track to Bahrain as well. Even with the updated Melbourne that we could get, we'll have to wait and see, of course, depending on how the test goes really with that track. Whether we will end up using the newer version or whether we'll just continue with the version that we've had for previous seasons. But that's that really. But yeah, it would be interesting to see whether Red Bull still have that benchmark by the time we get to Australia. But it will be very interesting to see because, of course, as mentioned, Australia is more of a downforce track than it is a high-speed track. Of course, they have high-speed corners, but it's not a straight, so to speak. So you really need the downforce for those corners. And so you're going to need the best downforce, really, rather than top-end speed around Melbourne. Meantime, Proxy gets up into 18th position. The top 19 separated by just under a second. I've mentioned this a few times during the testing, but the field spread incredibly close, it's fair to say. I don't know whether this is because of the test drivers or not, but so far looking pretty close indeed. As we look at Lopez now, then, who's down on his personal best in the first sector. And, well, if Lopez is going to win the championship this season, Dennis, who knows, really? He's going to have some stiff competition this season, it seems.
Yeah, it seems like we have the most stiff competition ever, with so many teams being at the front. Yeah, it could go anyone's way here.
Indeed, and hello Alex Arnold, who's just joined us in the stream chat. As meantime, Kirishima De Rosa has now come back out onto the racetrack, currently in 7th position. As the seconds tick by on the timer on the top of your screen, as now De Rosa makes his way through to turn 4. As we'll be preparing to start probably his penultimate lap. It depends on how much time there's left on the clock by the time he gets back round. I think it will be his penultimate lap, but we will see. Lopez crosses the line, no improvement for him as he's got a whole train of cars behind, as Q-Pop rejoins just in front of that train. So a lot of cars out on track at the moment here at the Bahrain International Circuit, as Q-Pop will make his way towards turn number 4 now then. As he gets the car round the right-hander now then. So now he will make his way towards the S's. And now through the section of corners we will now go. As he will be preparing to start, I would imagine, his penultimate lap, depending on how much time there is left on the clock. 2 tenths down in the first sector, meanwhile, for Franco Lopez. He's probably just getting some mileage in that Mercedes. As he'll be hoping to have a good opening race of the season in Melbourne, as will everyone, of course. But AlphaTauri will be hoping that if Barcelona, which was the last track we went to, which required more downforce, is anything to go by, they'll be hoping that they don't experience that nightmare that they had at Barcelona. Fakruzane tries to find a way through, and I believe that was Adam Chobot just in front of him there, but Chobot saying no to that. Both of them having the same engine in the back of their car, both of them having a Mercedes engine. Fakruzane going to try and pass him into turn 1 if he can now then, as Lopez finds himself 8 tenths behind. Now I don't know if that's because he's had some traffic behind him, because I knew there was a stack of cars that were behind him on the track, but I don't know if that's going to be the reason. And so Laura saying OC proposing fantasy era. Red Bull got it spot on, it seems. Maybe like in real life, who knows really, albeit with less reliability problems. But Lopez does not improve. He's doing probably 2 more laps, judging by how much time there is left on the clock. Just over 2 minutes to go now then in this pre-season test. As Fakruzane is up on his personal best, but it looks like he's got it awfully wrong through the S's there. It looked like he had a little bit of a wiggle going through into those. We're going to take a quick look at a replay of the mistake that the Indonesian driver did, the 2010 GP2 champion. And let's have a look at, just pretty early on really there, Dennis.
Yeah, looked like a bit of understeer maybe. Not percentage sure. But yes, we have under 2 minutes to go. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Danny was on an improvement, but it looks like that Gamba might have interfered with that because Gamba was trying to find a way through there. But let's see if Danny can improve nonetheless. I doubt it now, but it looks like Gamba is going to actually pass him down the pit straight. Across the line, we'll go to Rebosh Daniel, and no improvement. Looks like Gamba really did interfere with that lap. But it looks like he'll get 2 more laps in, judging by how much time there was left on the clock there. Only just though, but we'll have to wait and see on that. As we're now getting towards the end of pre-season testing now then, is Andre Videri. We're going to ride on board with these guys for the remainder of this session. Videri does not improve, stays in P number 10. So far been a good session for Videri. De Rosa stays where he is, which is P7. Here comes Rifki Fakhrizadeh in the Mercedes. Was going to be on for an improvement before he made that mistake going through into the S's there. It was actually, in fact, he was only just 6 thousandths up on his personal best in the first sector. So who really knows if he could have kept that one up, because he lost about just under 4 tenths with that mistake there. Chobot does not improve. Here comes Gabriel Gomez now then. Just a few seconds left now then on the clock. Here comes Gabriel Gomez now then. In the Alfa Romeo, of course, won't be racing for this team, but will still be doing testing duties for them nonetheless as he focuses on World Champ car. Gomez doesn't improve. We just saw Byrne there going out. It looks like he's just going to be doing a mileage run. Cupot didn't improve. Griffiths doesn't improve. As now here comes Franco Lopez across the line, stays in 5th position. Daniel Fraser across the line, stays where he is. Graff across the line, stays where he is, which is P9. As Adventure will be starting 1 more lap before the end of the session, as he would just make his way through the final turn. Somebody comes into the pits there to complete their session. I'm not really sure who that was. Couldn't really see it on the timing tower either. But Daniel Adventure now then starts his final flying lap of pre-season testing. As now we look at Franco Garma now that comes around the final turns. You can see his lap times have actually been pretty consistent, judging from the split point that you can see there. But the seconds tick down, so 10, 9, 8, it's a bit slow here, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And that is the checkered flag out. Hento just missed that. Who was the last one to cross the line there? I didn't quite see who it was. It was Daniel. It was Derebush Daniel, but he's coming into the pits this lap. So it would be Nguyen who just overtook him, because it was a McLaren, because he's once again been impeded by traffic. But De Rosa didn't improve on his final flying lap there then. As here comes Rifki Fakhrizadeh across the line. He will now go. Let's see what Rifki Fakhrizadeh is able to do. Across the line he will go. And Fakhrizadeh crosses the line and does not improve, stays where he is. Here comes Adam Chobot across the line. He will go in the Williams. No improvement for him. Stays in P19. Gabriel Gomez now then comes down the pit straight. Across the line he will now go. And let's see what he's able to do. Across the line will go the Brazilian. And across the line he'll go. And he stays where he is. As Cupot across the line. Galloway was just going out for a mileage run. Cupot crosses the line, no improvement. Griffiths crosses the line, he will go, no improvement for him. Franco Lopez crosses the line, stays in 5th. Daniel Fraser crosses the line, he will go, stays where he is. Graff also stays where he is as well. Byrne just getting mileage in. Same for fellow compatriot Aaron Curtis. Here comes Daniel Adventure now then, as he makes his way towards the final corner. Been a good day for Red Bull across these 2 days at the Bahrain International Circuit. As Daniel Adventure now then will come across the line now then. Let's see what he's able to do. Across the line he will go, and he does not improve. Franco Gamba approaching the final turn himself, and he's in fact at the same time in the middle sector as he did from his fast lap. So identical time in the middle sector there for Franco Gamba. Could he actually find 1 more improvement before the end of the session? Let's see. Franco Gamba across the line. We'll go the 2011 GP2 champion across the line. Can he improve? Yes, he can, by 10 thousandths of a second. The 1:28.516 to conclude, and that is actually no. I think that McLaren was needing to finish a lap, or did it come into the pits? That McLaren pitted. Okay. Okay, pitted. Okay, that's fine then. So there you have it. That has been it for day 4 of pre-season testing and the final day of pre-season testing. What do you make of that session overall, Dennis?
It was quite a calm session, I have to say, apart from Byrne's mechanical failure. But yeah, everybody was doing the laps cleanly. even with a bit of traffic. Nothing big happened, so yeah, I can't wait for the first race in Australia.
Indeed so, and it will be very interesting to see who's going to be quickest when we get to Australia, because of course Melbourne is a completely different track to Sakhir. Well, that has been it then, guys. I hope you had enjoyed these preseason tests. It's been very, very exciting indeed. But of course, whilst the top class preseason tests are not over, we've still got a couple of more going on this weekend, because as mentioned, we have the Formula E and Indy and World Champ Car preseason tests. I really need to stop calling them IndyCar. The Formula E and World Champ Car preseason tests happening at the Bahrain International Circuit and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, respectively. But until then, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. In terms of the top class, that will be back next week for the start of the brand new season, the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne, and hopefully it will be the newer version of Melbourne as well, which will be pretty exciting. But that has been it. Hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Dennis Graff, and if we don't see you for the Formula E and World Champ Car preseason test this weekend, we will see you next week for the start of the new season, the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Till then, take care.